Welcome back, and thank you for joining me for the final episode of Score School September. I would like to welcome my guest, Principal of Brookwood High School, Dr. Savage. Good afternoon, and welcome to the J.A.T side. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, man, it's my pleasure. I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, no problem. So, Dr. Savage, today I would like to talk to you about what it's like to be a high school principal, your
All right.
hobbies, and what you studied in college. So, with that
Okay.
being said, my first question is, can you tell us what a normal weekday looks like for you from the time you wake up until the time you leave school?
All right. Yeah, I would say there's not really a normal, like every single day is different, which has been a little different. I started off as a teacher about 19 years ago, and I could kind of plan that. I kind of knew how that went, but my days are very different. So I typically wake up at about 5 o'clock, and get ready for about 30 minutes. Try to have a cup of coffee with my wife before I leave in the morning. I leave at about 10 till 6, so I get here about 6:25 every morning, and try to get a little things done in the office. Like, I usually come in and have 30 or 40 emails. So I try to scroll through those as fast as possible, but then get out into our commons area. So that's the big area where our students go before school, and just try to say hello and try to say good morning and get to know some people and make sure everybody's doing the right thing, and help everybody get to class on time. So that's pretty much how I start each day. I think while every day is real different, um, I try to make sure that I have something that supports our teachers and it supports instruction every single day. I've got a lot of people that want to meet or want to have phone calls or this or that. It would be very easy for me to get tied up with that all day long. So I try to make sure that, I have times throughout the day where I'm either walking through classrooms or meeting with teachers or going into times when they collaboratively plan together. So I try to make sure I have those planned every day. But the truth is, our school is so big. And Jalen, I don't know if you know this, we're the biggest school in the state of Georgia, as far as I know this year.
Oh,
So
wow. I did not
yeah,
know.
I think we're about 3,900 kids. So the next biggest that I know of is about 3,400. So yeah, but by far the biggest. So, you know, as a principal, I can't do it all. I can't really keep my eye on everything. So I've got to make sure that I've got great people in these other leadership roles that are making sure that our classrooms are running well, that they're running efficiently, that our teachers are, in there doing the right thing. And we're lucky we've got a great staff of teachers here, some of the best
Yes.
I think in the state of Georgia. So that's really good. That does help a lot. But I deal with all kinds of things. So one of the differences when I moved from an assistant principal to principal is I meet with a lot of people outside the school. So there's a lot of faith-based organizations that I make sure we have partners with. We have business partners and community partners. Like, we're right next to the hospital right here, so we work with some of them. I met last week with the vice president of student affairs at Gwinnett Tech College, and so we're just trying to make sure we build those partnerships so that our kids have every student here has every opportunity that they could possibly want. And not every kid takes advantage of every one,
Mhm.
but with 3,900 students, I want to make sure we've got every program, every connection, every partnership, every opportunity, so that when you leave Brookwood, you're like, man, I had the best education and I got the best connections. And so we just want to make sure that we build those. So I do a lot of that kind of things. I meet with a lot of our teacher leaders and a lot of our assistant principals on a regular basis every week, just to make sure that the vision that we have for the school keeps going. So I don't really have a set schedule every week. I schedule things like our assistant principal meeting is every Friday morning. Our teacher leader meeting is every Thursday morning. So I schedule those in there where I can, but a lot of it is reacting and supporting teacher needs, parent needs, and try to stay connected with the students as much as I can.
That's great, and I love that, you're always trying to, like, cheer everybody up and make sure that everybody's just having a good day. Because there's a lot of people who may not do that, but you're definitely a principal who cares about how the students feel, especially, and then also how the teachers feel as well, and I think that really does help a school run, better, and,
Yeah. I know when I was, I think back, I'm getting old now, but I graduated from high school 23, almost 24 years ago. And I have no idea who my principal was. I never saw him. I knew his name at the time, but Didn't know who he was, didn't ever have a conversation. And I mean, I still did fine, but I was like, man, that's not what I want to do. You know what I mean? That's not the kind of school that I want to be a part of. So, you know, I try not to be that way.
So on that note, when you were in high school, did you ever like imagine yourself becoming a principal?
No, I guess because I never really saw my principal, so I didn't really know what he did. I probably didn't even really see myself as being a teacher, but I was really good at science and math, so I majored in science in college. I was a genetics major, and I realized a little too late that jobs in the genetics field are like a lot of lab coat and doing lab work and not around a lot of people. And I'm much more of a people person. So I just realized that's probably not going to be where I'm happiest or where I'm really going to max out. Um, so I had that science background, and I actually my first job out of college was I was working for a health department down in DeKalb County, and I really liked it. I was actually the guy that checked swimming pools and restaurants and hotels and made sure that they had clean areas and that they were all up to code and everything like that. But I knew I just wasn't that wasn't my long term. So I ended up going back to University of Georgia and got a master's in education, and started teaching, and I loved it. I coached basketball, I coached golf, and taught biology. So I taught mostly ninth grade students, and I loved making that transition with those kids coming from middle school to high school because it's kind of a tough transition. You go from being the oldest one in middle school to now you're the rookie, and some kids struggle with that. So I really liked being able to connect with the kids and help them be successful and help them do that. So I don't think I ever saw myself as being a principal, but once I became a teacher, I uh, I just started realizing like, all right, I can do more, I can give more, and I think what I realized is that two things had to happen for me. First, I had to realize that number one, leadership is really important. And I saw that because I had some great leaders that I worked under. And unfortunately, I also had some that weren't great. And I think from both of those kind of groups of people, I just realized how important good leadership is. And I think at some point, I realized also that I could do it. Like I could be that leader. And I think once you really believe that, once those lines cross, right? Once you realize how important it is, and then you realize, like, man, I could do that. You almost have to, right? And so I became an assistant principal and started, just trying to make an impact on an even bigger group than even just the students I was teaching, and just kept moving on from there.
That's amazing. So I know you said your first major was like genetic. So did you go to the University of Georgia for that as well?
Yeah, so I actually grew up in South Carolina, but I went to the University of Georgia. I majored in genetics. Now, to be completely honest, I didn't really know genetics that well. I was good at science, but they gave me in-state tuition if I would major in genetics, and that was really the only way I could have afforded to go to out-of-state school. So I majored in genetics, and it was a pre-med major, so I was thinking, well, maybe I want to do something in the medical field. Um, but yeah, so I went to University of Georgia. I went there for my first 4 years, and loved it. Big Bulldogs fan now as well. I try to go back to Athens whenever I can, but it was hard, man. Being a science major in college was no joke. And it was about my second year. You always have to study. You always got to do some work in high school. But I remember I hit organic chemistry my second year in college, and I thought, whoa, I do not know how to study. This class, it about knocked me out. So I hit one of those points where it was like, all right, you better get better or get out, one of the two. So I got some tutors, I got some help, and ended up making it. But that was a turning point for me. Was that organic chemistry class? But yeah, I went through there at University of Georgia, got my undergraduate degree, and then um, got my master's in science education. Once I got into being an assistant principal, um, I decided to go back and get my doctorate degree at Georgia State University. So I got my doctorate in educational policy and administration. So basically, how do you run a school, and then how do you connect with policy, which is what's done at the county and state level. So how do you be a part of change in that, and how do you be a part of affecting policy so that it can positively impact students, not just at your school, but all over.
So that's why we call instead of Mr. Savage, that's why we now call him Dr. Savage.
Yeah, man. Whew. Yeah. my daughters, they joke and they're like, "You're not a real doctor," and I'm like, "Well, maybe not, maybe," but it was a lot of work. But I learned a lot in that program. I got to shadow a lot of great leaders and learn from a lot of professors who had some great experience. So uh, I tell people all the time, if I say something smart or if I say something wise, I probably learned it from somebody else. So
Mm,
I haven't come up with a lot of things on my own, but I definitely have figured out how to learn from others for sure.
that's very humble of you. So
Yeah.
I know earlier we were talking about, or you were talking about your schedule and things that you do like during the day. But what are some of like the things you like to do outside of school?
So outside of school, I like to, right now, I love to hang out with my family. So I have three daughters who are 11, 12, and 14. So they keep me real busy.
Mm,
They play lacrosse. So I don't know anything about lacrosse. We didn't have that when I was growing up. So anyway, I watch YouTube videos and try to figure it out. And I coach one of their teams. So I just try to stay connected with my family a lot. But personally, I like to play golf, but I also love to play basketball. I'm starting to get old, man. My knees don't quite work the way they used to, so I
mm,
can't go out there and run up and down for hours like I used to. But
uh,
I love to play golf, love to play basketball, and when I have a little bit of extra time, I actually really like to read. So ever since doing my doctorate, I kind of quit reading fiction. I used to like reading fiction stuff, but now I like reading books about business and about, leaders in business and how they have creative ideas and how they solve their problems. And believe it or not, a lot of the stuff in the business world and the nonprofit world really relates to what we do in school. So I like to learn and figure out ways that we can improve our organization, improve our school for the better. So I would say those are the things I like to do. I also like to cook. I mean, I'm not super great at it, but I like to grill. So I like to put meat on the grill and do that.
yeah, I'm starting to get into cooking a little bit with a little bit of push from my mom, because she wants me to just have like be well rounded going into college. So, doc,
Okay, now that's not a bad idea because let me tell you, when I was in college, my first 3 years I lived in the dorm, so I just got to eat the meal plan, right? Like, whatever they had, it was good. It was good food at
mm,
UGA. But in the summer, I had to get a job up there and I had to live in an apartment and I had to buy my own food. And I didn't know what to do. So we pretty much just ate boxed macaroni and cheese, tuna sandwiches, and like peanut butter and jelly. That's like all I ate all summer. So if you can learn how to cook a little bit, you will definitely appreciate that when you go off to college for sure.
oh, I gotta make sure I tell my mom. Definitely will send her this episode. She's gonna be very
Right,
happy.
right.
So, Dr. Savage, what's
Yeah.
one message that you want all students to hear right now?
Mm, good question. I got a lot of messages, so let me think about what's one I would love.
Okay.
I think what I think is so neat, and I can't speak for every school, but for Brookwood High School, what I think is really cool about our school and even our district in Gwinnett County Public Schools is that our high schools right now have the biggest range of opportunities of things to try and programs and pathways and opportunities, and even if it's clubs and athletics and fine arts, I mean, there's way more than I had growing up. I mean, I just hope that every student will put themselves out there a little bit and maybe try something they hadn't tried before. Like you're talking about cooking. Maybe that doesn't end up being something you care about. Maybe it does. But we've got so many things. I mean, we've got engineering classrooms, we've got agriculture, we've got some of the best fine arts in the whole state. We've got computer science, we've got uh, all kinds of like everything you could imagine with our theater program and our band and orchestra and our athletics and all of our clubs, our advocacy and different things we have. We have mock trial, like anything that you might like, we've got an opportunity. And it makes me sad when I see students that just, well, I'll just take whatever I'm supposed to take next. And there's just so many chances that sometimes it's like, well, I don't really know the people in that class or that pathway, so maybe I won't try it. But it's such a great time to really explore your interests, explore things that even maybe you hadn't thought about before. And so I would really hope that kids would give that a shot, really stretch themselves a little bit. and realize that it's okay to not be perfect and not be the best at everything they do. I think probably the times that I've learned the most in my life are the times when I wasn't great and I had to lean on somebody else, or I had to say, hey, this isn't my strength. Hey, can you help me with this? I mean, the relationships you form in times like that, and the just the skills you gain, and a lot of times figuring out what you don't want to do or what you don't like is just as important as figuring out what you do like.
Mhm.
Um, so I would say I would hope that kids would really explore the opportunities that they have, and then not be super afraid of making a mistake. I know I talk to kids a lot that say, well, to get into this college, I got to have a blah blah blah. I got to have a 4 point this or that, and I got to be in this many clubs, and I got to take this many AP classes. And that is a reality, and I do understand that. And I want, if that's your goal to reach those goals, but also don't feel like you have to follow the path that somebody else took. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot of ways to get to the end and to figure out what it is we want to do. And really, I think that's an important part of high school is trying to figure out ourselves, being true to ourselves, and then figuring out what our strengths are. I know, just like me, I made that mistake. I went in, oh, I'll do genetics. If I would have had any idea and looked into that at all, I would have known that that was more of a lab-based career, and for me, that wasn't going to be it. I would have known right off the bat
Mhm.
that's not what I'm going to be good at, or I'm really not going to enjoy that. So I was able to later find something that really aligned with my strengths and something that I've loved to do and that I want to spend my life, working with and working towards. So, um, yeah, I think we're kind of in a society where we can be a little afraid to take those risks sometimes.
Mm.
Um, but I mean, our students have more opportunity than ever before. So, I would challenge them to do it and to figure out those strengths and, um, explore all the opportunities you have.
Yes, I like that message, and I think what Dr. Savage is, essentially saying here is, like, don't be afraid to take that leap into the unknown and put yourself out there and get involved in different things. Sometimes you may see something in the school and that may be a sign, like maybe I should try that or try this, and it can help you find like your strengths, your weaknesses, your likes, your dislikes.
Yeah.
So before we end today's episode, do you like have anything else you would like to share with the listeners?
No, I think we've covered a lot. I do think something you just said made me think of something now I've forgotten. Uh, yeah. Oh, I think one of the challenges of high school, and I remember being in high school, everybody's worried about what everybody else thinks,
Oh
right?
yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, that's natural. That's normal. Like, don't feel bad because you feel that way in high school. It's the way it is, right? But what I try to tell my daughters who are in middle school, and it may be even worse in middle school, the truth is nobody's really looking at you. Nobody's really looking at what you're wearing or what your hair looks like that day because they're really mostly worried about themselves. They are so worried about what other people think about them. Half of them can't even pay attention to what you're wearing, right? So, or what you're doing. And so a lot of times though, we worry about that and we worry about that like, oh, what am I going to look like if like you're talking about, like you really venture out there. And I think it limits us. And I think those relationships are so important. And now the truth is, you might not stay connected to a ton of people from high school, but something that I've learned in my job is that network that you build around you is so important. And it's not for you so you can feel fancy or you can feel like, oh, I know important people or it makes me feel cool or whatever. Really, you get to align yourself and you get to learn from other people. So I'm doing a leadership class right now and we meet once a month and it's with some of the most influential people in Gwinnett County. And
Mm.
like I'm probably one of the least influential in the whole class. And we've only met a few times, but just the relationships that I've been able to build in that class, I have learned so much. In my class, I have lawyers and judges and doctors and politicians and senators and all these different people. And I remember leaving our last class just a few weeks ago thinking, oh my gosh, I finally realized how things get done, like in a city and in a state or in an organization. And really, it does come from those relationships. And you mentioned it. Don't be afraid to get out there and talk to other people. I think that's a great way to figure out what else is out there. Because especially at schools as big as ours, there's stuff that you might not know about. So
Mhm.
just talking to new people and meeting new people and say like, hey, how are you involved? What are you a part of? You can learn so much about different organizations and different clubs and pathways and courses just from hearing from other people. So um, I think that's probably one of the hardest things as a high schooler to do is to get out of your little group that you've got, and you want to have your tribe and you want to have a good group you're with, right? I understand that and think that's important, but just figuring out ways to venture out. And even if you're not the most social person, man, if you can venture that out, you can learn so much from other people, and you guys will benefit one another. You'll be able to help each other and grow together. And those are the kind of relationships that help you as you go into college. And hey, look, you never know who you're going to partner with one day. You'll probably own your own business one day. You never know who your client's going to be. You never know who you're going to connect with, and it's going to make that difference. That's going to take your business to the next level. So those relationships are really important, and I just think it's never too early to start. So I think just like you said, high school is a great place to start it, and figure out how to get involved by learning from your peers.
Yes, I heard this one quote, and it said, "Get comfortable being uncomfortable."
Mm,
And I think that's something that is way easier said than done.
yep.
And once we do eventually get comfortable being uncomfortable, it will lead to a lot of great opportunities for us and
Yeah.
success. So, Dr. Savage, I'm honored to have had you on the show today.
Yeah, man.
And I thank you so much for being with us. And until next time, we're out.
All right. Appreciate you. Hey, I'm happy to come anytime. Appreciate you, Jalen.
Thank you.
All right.